Social media for realtors in 2022. People always ask me what's working the best right now in 2022 for real estate agents, real estate brokers, and real estate teams when it comes down to generating seller listing appointments from social media. Is it Google AdWords? Is it Facebook ads? Is it Instagram, TikTok? Or is it ultimately organic marketing or paid marketing? Ultimately, how long does it take you to get actual listings? How long does it take you to get results from your social media? Well, I have the answers for you in today's video. We're going to be covering 8 most frequently asked questions by real estate agents, real estate brokers, and real estate teams I get about social media for real estate agents. If you don't know me, I'm founder of a company called nosu.io, and I've had the privilege to work with over 220 real estate agents one-on-one to help them generate 5 to 20 listing appointments per month through our strategic personal branding methodology. And I have a pretty unique perspective on this because I've spoken to over 900 real estate agents one-on-one in the last 2 years, analyzing their organic social media, analyzing their paid social media, analyzing the overall social media strategies to make sure they're able to get the most juice in terms of listings, buyers, and everything else generated. So I'm in the trenches every day on this, and we have a unique perspective to see what actually works and what actually doesn't work when it comes down to generating clients off social media online. And I can tell you that unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you see out there when it comes down to social media for realtors is really watered down in terms of, feeling good type of content, telling you to post more, telling you to get on Instagram, telling you to create more videos, create more reels, and so on forth. So the mainstream advice out there you see is very simplistic and it's very dull, and most agents are really left at a place where they'll be better off doing something else. They'll be better off not leveraging social media. Social media for real estate agents without a solid strategy, without a solid systems in place, is nothing but a cost in terms of your time, energy, and money. You must have the right strategy for social media and real estate right now, especially in 2022. You must be great at executing it or you will not get results. It's very similar to how value of a football for Tom Brady will be millions and millions of dollars, but the value for football for regular person is just pretty much $0 or maybe in the negative. Same thing with social media. If you don't really dive deeper into it right now in 2022, if you don't have a solid strategy, if you don't have solid systems, solid frameworks, the value of social media for you as real estate agents will be 0 or negative. However, if you do have the right strategy, the value of social media for a real estate agent can be in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars or even in millions of dollars in GCI every single year. So let's dive right into 9 most common questions asked by real estate agents, real estate teams, and real estate brokers. So this way you can avoid making these expensive mistakes in your marketing, in your social media, and ultimately wasting your time and energy. So question number 1 is, I don't have much social media experience. I'm not tech savvy, I'm a little older, can I still use social media? So I'm going to be transparent with you on this. So social media, and especially the tech part of it, can definitely seem complex at the start. So don't believe those people who tell you, hey, everybody can do social media, just go out there and start shooting videos. There is part to it where you have to learn the skill part of it. You must be able to get the right things at the right time. And again, kind of how I said earlier, in 2022, without the right skills and the right systems, you won't be able to succeed. Now, the truth is, though, this is not necessarily rocket science. And what I mean by this is, if you remember the first time you learned how to drive a car, at the start, that might have seemed a little complicated. There's all these things. You have to look at the mirror, you have to shift the gears, all these different things you kind of have to learn. And everybody struggles at the first time they're trying to drive a car, right? There's a lot of things going on. And again, without much experience, without guidance, obviously it's kind of hard to learn to drive a car. But when you have a right teacher, when you have the right guidance, when you have the right process to learn how to drive a car, virtually everybody will be able to drive a car and successfully get their driver's license. So in a very similar way, social media is actually, when you think of it, it's a little bit easier than driving a car. It's not necessarily as complicated. You don't need to have tech skills, you don't need to be computer savvy or anything like that, But what you do need is to have the will and desire, the hunger to learn a skill, and you need to have the right person and the right systems that you're implementing in the first place. As an example, I still remember back in the day when I was working with one of my first real estate clients. His name was Stefan, and back then, like, he had social media accounts. He had like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but those accounts were like very, very small. I'm talking about like less than 100 followers, and many of his accounts were actually private, so nobody could even like go up there and see what they're all about. And at the start, I still remember he was very uncomfortable with the idea of putting himself out there. But he knew, back then he had been a realtor for 2 years, and like all the things he was doing for his marketing were things like cold calling or mailers or things like that. And ultimately he realized like, okay, he was going to be a realtor for the next 5, 10, 20 years. So, with cold calling or mailers, you can get it to a certain point, but at a certain point you do have to put yourself out there and start building your brand. So he realized that, and he contacted me. We started to work together, and we took him to the program. And he learned the skills in terms of the messaging, in terms of the content, in terms of the organic reach. And I still remember he went from less than 100 followers to having over 3,800 local followers following him on Instagram. And I still remember I was like, okay, well, that's a nice amount of followers, man, but like, how many listing appointments are you getting? Like, how much money are you making? And he told me that on his best month, he's gone up to 8 listing appointments. I've gotten up to 5 listing agreements. And I asked him like, okay, that's awesome. Like, how much money did you make out of that? And he told me that's over $50,000 in 1 month. And that's really when I realized, like, yes, if you are not experienced with social media, it's very hard. It can be uncomfortable at the start. But once you learn the skills, once you learn the systems, you don't need to be a computer savvy person initially. You don't need to be a tech savvy person initially. These are skills you can learn. And Stefan as well, it's not like he's 20 years old or something like that. I think he's in his 40s, soon going to be probably in his 50s. So he's not necessarily this young guy who knows all about social media, but with the right guidance, the right skills, the right systems, he was still able to get 8 listing appointments and 5 listing agreements in 1 month organically off social media. And when I say organically, that's all free marketing you can do right now on social media without spending a cent on it. So that's the true power of social media done correctly. So number 2 will be I'm already active on social media. I'm already posting real estate stuff on my social media, but I'm just not getting any results. I'm not getting listings. I'm not getting any buyers. So what's wrong with my social media? This is a very, very common question to ask. So a lot of real estate agents are using social media, but they're not really getting a lot of listings or getting a lot of buyers from it. And ultimately, the first question you always want to ask about your social media is obviously how many inbound inquiries you're getting, how many people are reaching out to you based on your social media, and how many actual clients you're signing every single month out of it. If you're not getting listings from your social media right now, in 2022, there's really only 3 reasons why that is the case. Number 1 is you're not reaching enough home sellers in the first place. So you want to look at your social media following and see how many friends you have on Facebook, how many likes you have on your business page, how many Instagram followers you have, how many LinkedIn connections you have, how many YouTube subscribers do you have. And out of 1,000 people, according to statistics, so there's about 65% percentile in terms of how many people are homeowners. So in the United States, 65% of people are homeowners, and on average, people move on every 16 years. So essentially, if you have 1,000 followers in your social media, it's realistic to expect that you have about 40 sellers out of that every single year. Now, this number, it's going to vary based on the market, it's going to be based on the audience, and so on forth. But just to give you a ballpark number, if you have 1,000 people, approximately you have about 40 people every year that are selling their houses in that audience. So the truth is, if you don't have at least 1,000 people, it's going to be kind of difficult to get a lot of listing appointments out of it, because obviously the reach, how many people you're reaching in the first place is very, very minimal. So you need to build up your audience. And the way you build up an audience is obviously you want to first look at this initial reach you're getting. So first of all, if you have less than 1,000, obviously you want to get to 1,000. Then you want to get to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000. And the numbers like that are definitely the goal you want to strive for. The truth is though, like a lot of people focus on the reach, but once you have built an audience, it's really not the only step in terms of getting clients. Because a lot of times I see people, they already have, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people, but they're still not getting any listings out of that, or very few. So the number, when it comes down to statistics, it's not really responding to the number of actual clients generated. Number two, your content, the posts, the text, the images, the videos you put out, the content itself you put out on the social media platforms, they need to display the right things in order for people to get sold on you specifically. So first of all, you want to get people to feel like they know you on that personal level. I see a lot of times where people post like just listed, just sold, and it doesn't really have any personality into it. But according to statistics, 33% of the listings come based off referrals. So that just tells you how important it is to actually build a relationship with your audience. In addition to this, people need to see you as an authority advisor when it comes down to their specific real estate needs. It's a little bit like how, like, as an example, if you have a heart surgery, you need to have a heart surgery done. There's going to be a lot of doctors out there in your city, but at the end of the day, if you do a heart surgery, you want to have the best expert on that particular topic. So in the very same way, in your market right now, there's going to be a lot of real estate agents. People are going to know real estate agents everywhere. So your content needs to position you in a way where you're going to be the number one expert when it comes down to selling their house and making their move successful. In addition to this, people need to believe that hiring a real estate agent in the first place is obviously the best way to sell their house. Obviously, they're going to sell their house themselves, use discount brokerages, or anything else. And also, people need to believe that working with you is the absolute best choice for them, kind of how we discussed about earlier already. Now, I could go on and on about specifics of this. Obviously, we have the full content strategy IC framework, but you get the point. The content itself needs to convince the local people that are in your audience that you are the number one realtor they want to work with. So number three is kind of use templated content or outsource my social media. This is the point I kind of touched earlier. And honestly, I think that a lot of real estate agents are focusing on the reach quite a lot. So I see people, they like to get Instagram followers or Facebook like things like that. But a lot of times they're really not putting a lot of attention to the actual content. So most real estate agents out there, they are using automated content, company content, or as an example, content for virtual assistants or things like that. The issue with that is that the content itself, that's the most important part of your overall strategy. You could have 5,000 followers, but if your content sucks, you're not going to get a lot of reach and you're not going to get a lot of clients. So I kind of covered this earlier already. The goal with your content, the goal with your social media is to get thousands of local people to see you as that number one expert, the top tier expert in that particular field. And automated content or delegated content or company content, obviously that's not going to do that because there's just so many people putting out the same exact content, and honestly it's not very interesting. So just imagine you're running for president and your marketing is like a robot speaking or something like that. You're not going to become the president of the United States with that. So if you're running for president, you want to become the president. Who is going to do the speeches? Who is going to be there in front of people speaking their values, speaking their beliefs? You or somebody else. So you want to be in your content yourself. I'm not saying you can build like a content team or things like that, but ultimately in the content itself, you want to be in front of there speaking to people, and that's what people really connect with. Number 4 is, what social media platforms should I use as a realtor in 2022? Now, I'm going to be very transparent on this. Most real estate agents are not necessarily fast adapters or always moving to the most cutting edge information. So a lot of times people are using strategies that are very, very outdated. I've seen people do things that are kind of worked 10, 20 years ago. And this obviously opens up huge opportunities, a lot of money-making opportunities for those people that are proactive and they are willing to seek that cutting edge information when it comes down to generating clients online. But the truth is though, oftentimes in terms of your platforms like TikTok or YouTube are great, but at the end of the day, what we see to have the fastest and best results right now in 2022 is simply by leveraging your personal Facebook profile. Because the truth is, you already have your sphere of influence there. So most real estate agents already have a Facebook account. They already have quite often people who they've known for years on that platform. And because of that, it's usually the easiest place to get your initial reach and engagement, allowing you to generate your first 3, 5, 10 listings or more in the first year. And really the time input for this is too very minimal, but simply spending like 2 to 3 hours a week on creating content that's great and gets people to work with you. So that's the easy answer to that question. The more complex answer to this question is, when you look at your ideal clients, who are those people? Are you going after first-time homeowners? Are you going after upsizers, downsizers? Are you going after luxury listings? Are you going after waterfront properties? You're gonna find different people on different platforms, and you must adapt your marketing strategy to it. Ultimately, if your goal is to generate second homeowners in terms of sellers, most likely your platform is not going to be platforms like LinkedIn, because in that platform, the targeting is geographically based. But what you could do is to adapt your strategy to be search engine optimized strategy. So in that case, what could work really well would be, as an example, YouTube. Again, like I said earlier, it's all dependent on the ideal client avatar, and you want to customize your strategy around that. In addition to this, you also want to consider the time inputs when it comes down to doing this. So oftentimes, as an example, video creation can be very heavy in terms of your time input and resource allocation, but then over the long term, the output of video creation can be obviously big. But again, if you're optimizing on a shorter term time frame, again, most likely your best results are going to come from platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Generally speaking though, if you're an average real estate agent right now in 2022, what we're seeing the best results from is usually going to be platforms like Facebook and platforms like YouTube. These are going to be the #1 platforms when it comes down to generating actual clients. Now, in terms of your reach, if you want to get a lot of reach, a lot of likes, followers, things like that, probably platforms like TikTok would be the way to go. So it can be a little harder to generate listings or, as an example, luxury clients out of that platform. So in addition to this, you want to take into account, are you basing your strategy on organic reach, or are you basing your strategy on the paid reach? Because on the paid reach side, obviously right now Facebook is still the king, but again, on the organic side, platforms like YouTube can definitely be more optimal for that. So number 5 is how to make social media work in my market. Now, this is an awesome question because I know we have a lot of clients all across the United States. We have people from smaller cities in Alabama, smaller cities in Virginia, and we know for a fact that, okay, smaller city, smaller market is going to be totally different beast compared to a large city. We're going to compare that to Los Angeles or some of the clients we have in Manhattan and so on and forth. So every market is different. Market environments are different. The psychographics, the homeowners are just completely different, and competition is completely different. So that's precisely why a lot of real estate agents out there, they fail with their marketing. You know, they take out company content, or they take out things they learned in the company training, and they put out generic, non-market specific marketing content on a platform that's not even optimized for that niche they're going after. So market differences, you want to take these into account with your marketing. And again, kind of as I said earlier, you want to customize your marketing strategy around exactly your market, your competition, and your ideal client avatar. So you want to take this into account, number 1, in your psychographics, so marketing messaging, how people think, how people see the world, what fears, what worries, what frustrations, what desires they have related to moving. And also, we want to take these into account, again, on the marketing strategy side when it comes down to generating your reach. So again, customize your platform, customize your social media platform to be in alignment with that target audience. So for psychographics, what's really important, again, is that your content is in alignment with that. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to look at that homeowner in your market right now. Think about what's going on in their minds, what fears, what worries, what frustrations they have, and you want to craft content that's going to be specifically in alignment with that. So number 6 is, how much time should I allocate as a real estate agent to my social media in 2022? So this is a great question, and I want to be very transparent with you on this. Social media is not a magic pill where, you go out there, you spend an hour, and you're getting 5 listings tomorrow. Obviously, if you want to have that exponential growth in your business, you want to have a lot of listings coming in, and you want to grow your GCI to that next level, it is going to require a different type of thinking and different type of time allocation from your end. Because the truth is, if as a real estate agent right now, let's say you're making couple $100,000 per year, right? and you've kind of like done your business in a certain way, you've allocated your time in a certain way, well, for you to go to that next level, if you want to go to say $400,000 per year, or if you want to grow say from $500,000 per year to $1 million a year, it is going to take different time allocation. You simply need to spend your time differently. A lot of the times what I've seen is that a lot of people tend to be used to working in their business, working with buyers, finding them houses, and as an example, doing calls to leads. Now, I'm not saying those things are not important. They're definitely important, but those things have certain dollar value to them in terms of what you're going to be earning per hour. What is the input and what is the output of that action? So for social media, the easy answer is you probably want to spend about an hour a day on it. So ultimately 4 to 5 hours per week on it. The issue is a lot of real estate agents are not kind of used to spending an hour a day, not used to say spending 4 to 5 hours a day as an example on this. So it might be a good idea to find those different places where you're spending time on and start delegating those activities. So as an example, if you're working with a lot of buyers, at a certain point, it might make sense to hire buyer's agents to get them to take care of that for you. Free up that time and now spend that time on social media, because that's where you find that next level of ROI for your time. Additionally, if you're working with a lot of leads, so if you're calling a lot of buyer leads or if you're calling a lot of leads yourself, at a certain level, it might make sense to hire an appointment setter to free up that time for you, call those leads for you, increase your speed to lead. And then when you free up that time, now spend that time on your social media. Like we discussed earlier, there is that time input to output relationship. And honestly, I believe that social media is going to be obviously the number one place right now for most real estate agents in terms of their input to output relationship. So on social media, easily what can happen oftentimes is you spend 5 minutes to create one post, but then that gets you a client. So it's worth, that 5 minutes was worth to you $10,000 or sometimes even more. So social media itself, this is something you do want to spend time on it, but it's very important also that you've systematized and processed everything in the right way. Because the truth is, I mean, somebody could spend an hour a day on social media, but then if the time is going into wrong places, it's not really spent effectively, obviously it's not going to do much for you. So that's why also people work with companies like us, where we have specific process, specific systems you're going to go through. These tasks should not be delegated or outsourced to other companies. These tasks should be done by you, but you do need to have the right system. So honestly, out of all the people, again, over 900 people I've talked to myself one-on-one, every single one of them that's been crushing it, getting a lot of listings, and all the clients we work with as well, they're always doing it themselves. They're always in the content themselves. So number 7 is, how long does it take for me to see results from a social media? So a lot of times what people want to hear for this question is kind of like an answer like, hey, do this on your social media and you get a listing in the next 2 weeks. That's what people want to hear. Now, I want to be very transparent with you. I want to give you the truthful answer to this. So this is going to be dependent on your current situation. It's going to be dependent on your starting point. So number 1 is, how many people do you already have in your audience? Kind of like how we discussed about reach. Number 2, what's going to matter is, do you have existing leads in your database? You can run ads too. And number 3, again, what's your starting point in terms of your skills? Are you familiar with writing text? Are you familiar with taking pictures, filming videos, tuning into the minds of your ideal clients? Again, with these points, these are just starting points. And what I mean by this, it's kind of like a marathon. If somebody has a lot of these things, they already have tons of people in their audience, they already have database with tons of leads they've worked with earlier, and already have some content creation skills, of course, that person, when they come on board and they start working with us and we put these things in place, even if they have just 3,000 people on their organic social media, oftentimes they will see their first clients coming in even on the first month. The fastest I've seen is literally in 2 weeks. I've seen people getting listings right now today, but for some people, it is going to take a little bit more time. There may be a couple tweaks, a couple shifts we need to make. We maybe need to building an audience. We maybe need to building a database before we get to that point. But from my experience, I can tell you that starting creating actually valuable content as soon as possible. It doesn't look like marketing. It's not generic, and doesn't just say, hey, call me right now today, where you are building that goodwill, you are getting people to know you, you're building your authority, you're making your valuable offers, you're setting yourself apart, things like this. for those people who are starting to do this properly, we've seen people getting results relatively quickly. So most of our clients are getting their first listings in the first 1 to 3 months, depending on their starting point, depending on their market and everything else. So kind of like how you see, there are a lot of variables when it comes down to doing this. And for most people, this is the hardest part to understand, where a lot of times if you do cold calling or if you do mailer campaign, it's kind of like a thing where you do it right now and you can expect to get a result right now. With social media, it is a little different. It's going to vary, again, based on your starting point. It's going to vary depending on your market. One thing is certain, though, is that if you do put in the work and if you do have the right guidance to work and learn how to do social media properly, you will get awesome results. And it might take you 2 months, 3 months, or 5 months, but who cares if at the end you're getting, say, 5 to 20 listing appointments per month. So like we discussed, it's not easy. It won't happen overnight, but I've seen it happen relatively quickly. And it is going to depend on your starting point when it comes down to doing that. So starting itself, for most people, that is usually the hardest part. Again, it's putting yourself out there. This can feel very intimidating, uncomfortable at the start on that emotional level. And it's easier to get into that spiral where you start thinking about, like, what are my friends going to think of me? What are other realtors going to think of me? Am I making a good impression? Or maybe I'm just making a fool out of myself? Or am I just wasting my time? And so on and forth. So you need to raise your level of awareness to the next level. And you need to be able to work to those insecurities at the start, maybe those fears at the start. But again, once you do this for a while, I've seen tons of people come in, they start at a place where they're like very uncomfortable with social media, but then they get their first listing, they make $10,000, $20,000, and they kind of see the true power of social media. Those fears, those worries, those frustrations, those things fade away very quickly. So number 8 is, should I do organic social media or should I run ads instead on platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Google? So this is a great question. Almost every real estate agent is making this mistake. Now, I'm not saying paid ads can't work for you if you are an experienced broker owner, you already have a big real estate team, and you guys have a setting team and everything else. Obviously, at that point, just go straight into paid ads. We'll scale your listings with that. But for most real estate agents, if you are making, say, 100,000, couple 100,000, or 300,000 even per year, for most of you guys, it's going to be better to start off with organic social media. So just to give you some context on this, a while ago, a private client sent me a message and basically asked, like, Posse, when can I start running Facebook ads? I asked him, like, hey man, how many listing appointments are you getting with the free organic methods we teach you in the program right now per month? And he was like, I'm not getting any listing appointments. I haven't got my first client yet. So I then asked him, okay man, like, how do you think running the advertising is going to solve that problem? Because all we're doing with running ads is we're scaling up the reach in terms of your posts. Of course, we have the funnels and everything else that kind of goes into it, but at the same time, for the most part of it, we're still just scaling up the reach of your content. So the issue is, if you're looking at this video right now and you're thinking about running ads, but you're not getting any clients organically, remember, you already have free Facebook ads. You already have free YouTube ads at your disposal. That is called the organic reach you're getting on these platforms. And the organic reach itself, that will be the easiest business you will generate. And you might be wondering, like, why organic reach is so much easier than like paid ads? Like, how does that make any sense, right? Well, the reason why is because when you're running paid ads, you're going to be targeting cold audience. So what I mean by cold audience is simply people who don't yet know who you are. These are people who are seeing an ad, clicking on it, and they're becoming your leads. So if you ever run lead generation ads before, you probably know that when you call those leads, they're going to be, again, cold leads coming from an online ad. So you're going to have a lot of sales resistance. You need to qualify them. You need to take them through a sales process. As with organic marketing, those people who are reaching out to you, again, remember, most of the times they'll be reaching out to you. Those people have already seen you for 20, 30, 50, 100 times, already know you from somewhere. So to wrap up this story, I got him to do basically organic marketing with our strategies for content and everything else. A week later, he sent me a message, hey man, I got my first listing from Instagram. And I asked him how much it's worth to you. That was $7,000 he made. I asked him how much he did spend. $0. So that's why you want to always start off your marketing with organic marketing. Get that dialed in, get your first clients, validate your content strategy, validate your marketing message. Once you have that, then what you do with paid ads is you simply scale that up. And now when you go to paid ads, again, you're getting leads, but when those leads come in, they're able to see your content that clicks really well, and it takes them from a stranger into becoming a client that wants to work with you, knows you, likes you, trusts you, and is ready to go. To answer this question, essentially at the start, it's usually better to focus on organic marketing. But once you have validated your organic marketing, then paid ads are definitely a good idea, because with paid ads, we can basically scale that reach very, very quickly. As an example, one of our clients, Tim Davis, he didn't have that many social media followers. He had like a couple thousand, but he got his first organic client on the second month of the program, and then we started running paid ads. Now, in the last year, he's reached over 136,000 local homeowners for over 2,600,000 times. So that's exactly what paid ads can do for you, and they can take you to that next level. But you do need to have proper content and proper systems and structures in point to do that. Also, the beauty of paid advertising is that the more money you spend on your ads, once validated, usually at that point, the more money you make. So as an example, if you're able to spend $1,000 and get yourself a listing that's worth you $10,000, well, then obviously now you can spend $2,000 and then make $20,000, and then spend $3,000 and make $30,000. So the beauty of paid ads is that definitely they're very scalable, they're very quick, they can take you to the next level quickly. But the danger of it is if you go there too early, you're gonna spend thousands of dollars and not make any money in return. So it's very important that, again, your organic marketing is dialed in, your content is dialed in, so it creates that positive feedback loop instead of that negative feedback loop that's going to allow you to generate a lot of clients profitably and scale up your brand in your local market. So that's it for this video. Now I've answered the 8 most commonly asked questions from real estate agents when it comes down to social media marketing in 2022. Now, if there's one key takeaway from this video, it is that you do want to always create your content. Never hire that virtual assistant, never hire that media company that's going to post the content for you. Always do your content yourself. Be authentic, build a trust, build intimacy with your leads and followers. Now, what I created here as well, earlier I've created this video about content creation and how to really create content that's going to really strike a nerve with the marketplace and get you a lot of clients. It's going to feature exact examples and exact case studies from our clients we work with. So if you want to see that video, click on this thumbnail right here and you'll be able to check that out. It's 100% free. You just click on it and you'll be able to see that. So that's it for this video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.